Saint Augustine of Hippo, born on November 13, 354, in the city of Tagaste. His early life was marked by a search for meaning in a world filled with conflicting ideas. Raised by a devout Christian mother, Monica, and a pagan father, Patricius, Augustine's upbringing was a mixture of faith and worldly influences. As a child, he excelled in his studies and was known for his sharp mind, but he also struggled with moral and spiritual conflict. His rebellious nature led him to indulge in the pleasures of youth, and by his late teens, he became involved in the Manichaean religion, a dualistic system that offered an alternative to Christianity, and which he found intellectually appealing at the time. Although his mother prayed for his conversion, Augustine lived for years in a wayward lifestyle, pursuing personal ambitions and relationships that ultimately left him empty. After moving to Carthage in his 20s, he encountered Neoplatonism, a philosophical school of thought that profoundly influenced his thinking, especially on topics like the nature of God and the human soul. Despite these intellectual pursuits, Augustine still felt restless and unsatisfied. It was during this period that he moved to Milan in 384, where he became acquainted with Ambrose, the bishop of the city, whose sermons on scripture and allegorical interpretation opened his eyes to the richness of Christian thought. Though he was initially resistant, the influence of Ambrose, combined with his growing intellectual dissatisfaction, led Augustine to seriously consider Christianity. In 386, after a profound spiritual experience in a Milanese garden, where he heard a child's voice urging him to take up and read, Augustine turned to the Bible and read a passage from St. Paul's letter to the Romans that helped him make the decisive choice to convert to Christianity. This moment of grace, alongside the loving prayers of his mother, resulted in his baptism by Ambrose in 387, marking the beginning of his full embrace of the Christian faith. After his conversion, Augustine returned to North Africa, where he spent time in prayer and contemplation. He eventually became a priest and was later appointed as the Bishop of Hippo, a position he held until his death in 430. As bishop, Augustine became a prolific writer, preacher, and theologian, making significant contributions to Christian doctrine and philosophy. His works, such as the Confessions and the City of God, are still considered among the most important in Christian literature. In the Confessions, Augustine recounts his early life, his sins, and his conversion, offering a profound reflection on the grace of God and the nature of human free will. The City of God, written in response to the fall of Rome in 410, articulates his vision of the relationship between the temporal and spiritual realms, presenting Christianity as the true City of God that transcends earthly kingdoms and politics. His doctrine of original sin and grace became foundational to Christian theology, particularly in the development of the Catholic Church's understanding of human nature and salvation. Augustine's thoughts on the will, grace, and the nature of sin deeply influenced later Christian thinkers, including Thomas Aquinas and Martin Luther. Despite his intellectual achievements, Augustine never ceased to be a pastor at heart, dedicated to guiding his flock in spiritual matters and always seeking ways to help them grow in faith. His personal struggles with sin, pride, and temptation were not just theoretical concerns but part of his lived experience, making his teachings accessible and relatable to those who faced similar struggles. Though he was in declining health, he continued to pray and write, including his final works, which reflected his steadfast trust in God's providence. Augustine died on August 28, 430, shortly after the fall of the city, leaving behind an unparalleled legacy in Christian thought. His theological writings and teachings about the nature of God, grace, sin, and salvation have shaped not only Christian doctrine but also Western philosophy and theology. His thoughts on the relationship between faith and reason, particularly in terms of the intellect's role in understanding divine truth, had a profound impact on the development of Christian Today, Augustine is regarded as one of the greatest saints and theologians of the Catholic Church, having received the title Doctor of the Church for his immense contributions to Christian doctrine. Augustine's personal story of transformation is one of redemption, illustrating the possibility of change and spiritual growth through the grace of God. His life story is a compelling reminder that no one is beyond the reach of God's grace, and no matter how far one may stray, the path to redemption and transformation is always open through Christ. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please like, comment, and share the video and subscribe the channel.